Welcome to Autism ADHD TV with Holly. That's me, a neurodivergent therapist, mom, and passionate advocate for affirming approaches. Maybe you're a parent trying to support your neurodivergent child or teen, a therapist or educator wanting to learn more, or you're a neurodivergent person looking for strategies that truly honor who you are. Whatever brought you here, you're in the right place. We talk about the real stuff: emotional regulation, self-awareness, executive functioning, self-advocacy skills that build confidence, social connections that are authentic, and so much more. And hey, if you're looking for deeper learning, check the description notes below for information on my parent workshops and continuing education trainings for therapists. You're going to love it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like so you never miss out. And if you find Autism ADHD TV helpful, please share it with someone, because together we can create more understanding about neurodiversity. Now let's get into it. Dr. Daniel Wendler, thanks for coming back to the Autism ADHD podcast.
I am so thrilled to be here. It was a great conversation the first time, and I'm ready for round two.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to tackle a very important topic today. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce you real quick. Dr. Daniel Wendler is an autistic clinical psychologist, a two-time TEDx speaker, and the author of several best-selling books, as well as the co-author of the recently published Neurodiversity and the Myth of Normal. Dr. Wendler has spoken on neurodiversity to leading organizations, including Google, Accenture, and Harvard. His expertise has been featured by the American Psychological Association, Bloomberg Magazine, and the New York Sun. Last but not least, right? Today, we're going to chat about how do you show up socially in a way where you can honor yourself and not tie your worth with the person's response. That is really tricky. And I'm so happy that we're chatting about this today. It's timely. I recently had a client tell me they were so excited to give their sibling a toy. They're like, I know they're going to love it. I'm so excited to give this to them. I picked it out for them. Sibling wasn't that excited. And so my client felt extremely sad and upset.
I think it's a really common experience. I think especially for neurodivergent folks that might have more experience than a typical person of reaching out in friendship and then not being responded to with acceptance or with kindness. And it's painful to try to have an interaction with somebody and it doesn't go the way that you want, or to try to make a connection with somebody. Maybe they're not interested in a connection with you. But one of the reasons why I'm so excited to talk about this is because I think there's a component of that, which is just a natural part of the suffering of life, right? You can't go through life without getting some challenges along the way, but there's so much of that suffering that we often experience that we inflict upon ourselves, right? Like, it's you give a toy to somebody and they don't like it, and instead of just thinking, oh, I guess I wasted $5 on this toy or something, you think, oh, I'm so stupid, or you think, oh, they're not gonna like me anymore, or oh, nobody's gonna like me, or oh, I'm gonna die alone in the gutter somewhere. And like, all of those things that you're feeling and thinking are not true. Like, you just made them up in your head at that moment, but they feel true and they create this sense of suffering. And if we can get past that, we can say, yeah, like, it is disappointing that they didn't like the toy, or that this person that I messaged on the dating app didn't respond to me, or that this social group that I tried to join didn't want me, whatever it is that we're disappointed with. If we're able to say, that was a bummer, I didn't like that, that kind of painful, but it doesn't mean that I'm stupid, it doesn't mean that I'm bad, it doesn't mean that other people aren't going to like me, then that, I think, frees up a lot of ability to shrug it off and to try again the next time. And I think even more importantly, if we can identify what our own values are for this, then you are able to be proud of yourself and confident in yourself, even if the outcome doesn't go the way that you want, right? If I reach out to somebody and they say no, but I'm like, you know what? I am proud of myself for reaching out. That took courage. I was kind in how I reached out. That's the way that I wanted to show up. And okay, they didn't like that. That's fine. I can still be proud that I showed up in the good way. Because I mean, if I take a great work of literature, right? I take War and Peace, I take The Great Gatsby, and I have somebody read one sentence of that, they might not like that sentence. They might put the book down. But does that mean that like The Great Gatsby is not a work of literature? No, it means that they took a tiny little piece of it and they made a judgment about the whole thing. It's the same thing. If I reach out to somebody socially, they say no to me. It's not that I'm bad. They couldn't possibly make that judgment. They looked at one sentence in my book and they're like, I don't like that sentence. I'm going to close the whole book. And that's their loss.
Right. I love that you were talking about how you show up because I feel the same way. Of course, it took me a lot longer than I hoped it would to figure this all out. Right? Our kids have this great advantage to be able to have this kind of help. We, as neurodivergent people, are more likely to be rejected. And that may make it hard to keep reaching out. Like, why would you continue to reach out if you're just going to be rejected again? I like to break things down into parts. Your part was reaching out, and you did it. You did it. And you complimented them because you like to compliment people, and you gave something because you like to give something. You did that. And you should be proud of yourself. I like the idea of parts because you only have control really over your part. And if you attach your worth to the other person's response, something you have zero control over, you're giving over your worth as a human to this other person in this situation. Yeah. We all, especially neurodivergent people, have done that, and it feels so big and scary. There are lots of situations that didn't turn out the way you wanted. But when you think of it in a different way, where I'm not bad, I reached out with kindness, and I guess we weren't a match this time. It's a completely different experience.
I think it's important to ask the question, like, did that person like me? But would I have liked myself if if a clone of me had done this to me, right? If somebody had reached out in kindness to me, if somebody had showed curiosity in me, if somebody had been brave to strike up a conversation with me, would I have liked that? And if the answer is yes, well, then you did the right thing. And even if that other person didn't like you, that's on them. That's not on you. And I think it's also important to recognize that, like, when we make these assumptions of, oh, this person didn't like me, I did something wrong, I think that you're forgetting the fact that not everybody is going to like you, right? Like, even if I was like Ryan Reynolds or something, right? Like, I'm the most charismatic, and I keep having to change my charismatic celebrity that I use for these examples because they all get scandals. But Ryan Reynolds has been good so far. So let's hope that he doesn't do anything bad. But if I was Ryan Reynolds, right, like I'm paid millions of dollars to be charismatic and magnetic or whatever, I guarantee you, everybody that Ryan Reynolds talks to does not like Ryan Reynolds, right? Even the best in the business, not everybody likes him. And that's just true of most things in life, right? If I'm Steph Curry and I'm trying to throw a free throw, probably the best, in the business right now, I'm going to miss some of my free throws. If I'm Babe Ruth, I'm trying to hit a home run, I'm not going to hit a home run every time. So even if you are as good as you possibly can be, I'm Simone Biles, it's not that like I'm going to do a gymnastics thing. I shouldn't have picked that example because I don't know enough about gymnastics to give
I don't
specifics.
either.
But
it's okay.
Okay, but like I want to represent Simone Biles because she's really good too. But point is, even somebody who is the best in the world at what they do, they will fail sometimes. And that doesn't mean that they're bad. That doesn't mean that they're unworthy. It means that they are doing something difficult. And making social connections is difficult. Most meaningful things in life are, right? And the fact that you failed some along the way does not mean that you are a failure. It means that you are doing something that is challenging. And I think that the trap that people fall into is that they focus on the failures, not the successes. I'll sometimes talk to people and they're like, nobody likes me. And I'm like, I will pay you $1 if you can prove that nobody ever in your life has ever liked you. And they're like, okay, I guess this coworker likes me. I guess my mom likes me. I guess my friend from high school likes me. And I'm like, okay, there's somebody that likes you. And yeah, maybe it's not as many people as you would like. And I'm not like the people that didn't like you, that does hurt. And I'm not wanting to take away that hurt. But somebody rejecting you is not the same as there a big blinking sign above your head saying that nobody will ever love you. You've got to look for the good spots in your life, not the bad spots.
Right. And those bad spots tend to feel so much bigger, so big that they take up a lot of that room. Sometimes it is hard to remember them when you aren't feeling so great. But the idea of you showing up and you're authentic and not trying to pretend to be what that other person wants, that's a huge step.
If you are showing up authentically, again, some people will like that and some people won't. But you get to be proud of yourself at the end of the day, right? It's like even if I could do a perfect Ryan Reynolds impression and I could get somebody to like me, no shade on Ryan Reynolds, but I wouldn't feel satisfied with that because that wasn't me being me. Like that they would have connected with somebody who is not myself. I want to show up how I show up. Like that doesn't mean that I don't put any attention into being considerate or brushing my teeth or whatever. But if maybe I'm going to show up as the best version of myself, but it's going to be a version of me. It's going to be me genuinely. And if I can say I showed up as myself, I showed up in the way that I wanted to show up, then yeah, I can be proud of that. I can have confidence in that, regardless of what the other person thinks. And I think importantly, when you show up as the best version of yourself, when you find people that are your tribe, when you find people that are going to click with you, then that's going to be magnetic. You're going to click with those people. And it does require to put that effort into showing up. It does require, I think, a little bit of strategy, right? If I was going to hang out in a bunch of biker bars, again, no shade to bikers, but like the people that hang out in biker bars, probably not my kind of people. I might struggle to make friends there. So maybe I got to think about where are my kind of people most likely to be. But if you are going to the kinds of places where your kinds of people would be, if you are showing up as your genuine self, then you will eventually find your people, you will make your connections, and you will also have some rejections along the way, but that is okay. That is part of the process. That's not a failure, that's evidence of your bravery.
It's learning about yourself and what works for you, learning those values. What are your interests? There are things that you can do ahead of time to make these interactions feel more comfortable. It can be easier because
I do sometimes like to use the metaphor of a casino, which is not like a casino is not a good thing if you're trying to make money, but it's a nice metaphor. Because if you know anything about casinos, like there's different games in the casinos and they have different odds attached to them, right? If you play, you're going to lose money on everything. So please don't go to the casino unless it's for entertainment. The slot machine, you're going to lose money much faster. Your odds there are much lower, whereas something like blackjack, the odds there are better. You're more likely to win a hand than you are to win a spin of the slot machine. It doesn't mean that you can't win the slot machine or that you're going to win on blackjack, but the odds are different. And I think that that's important to keep in mind as a lens to understand our social situations, right? Like I might be able to go to a biker bar and make a friend. It's certainly possible, just like it's possible to make $1 million on a slot machine, but it's not very likely. Whereas if I were to, kind of a nerdy guy, so if I were to go to a board game store or something like that, my chances of making a friend there, again, still not a guarantee, but it's better. And so sometimes people that struggle with making friends, it's because they're playing on the slots and they're like, wait, why isn't this working? It's like, because the odds are bad, right? Like sometimes people are like, oh, like I only try to make friends at work. And it's like, well, sometimes you can make friends at work, but sometimes your coworkers want to focus on their work or they're like, oh, I try to strike up conversations with people walking down the street and I'm like, well, they're probably going somewhere. They probably don't want to talk to you. Like maybe find a different place to go. There is a strategy component to it that can improve your odds. I think it's important to get back to this core idea that like, even if I did go to a biker bar and I tried to make a conversation with somebody and they didn't like me because I wasn't a biker guy, like that doesn't mean that I am a bad person or that like nobody will ever love me. It just means that maybe I need to recalibrate my strategy.
it removes you a little bit
Mhm.
from the response. Sometimes it feels like we're drowning in the person's response. When you separate yourself a little bit and look at it as information, that can change everything. I was talking to someone not long ago. a client, she had gotten a lot of telephone numbers
Hmm.
for leaving school so she could reach out in the summer. She reached out to someone and they didn't respond. I'm not going to bother. Wait a minute. Let's write this down. How many do you have? Let's see what happened. What are you sending? Do you feel good about that? Okay. What if you reached out to 10 and see what happens? See how many out of 10 respond. When you're looking at that as far as information, that's pretty cool. It doesn't mean you're bad. It means I'm going to throw this out. These people did give me their number, right? And then we'll see what happens. That doesn't mean I'll never be friends with them. It doesn't mean I'm bad or I'm this loser. It just means that out of this many people, these ones responded.
Yeah. So I have two thoughts for you. I think the first thought, like, I think is a great example. I think my first thought is like, what this person did, I think, is really typical of what people do, which is that they focus on the negative rather than the positive. Even if they reached out to all 10 numbers and all 10 numbers didn't respond, well, you know what? 10 people gave the number to begin with. And that was
Exactly.
a
That's what I
deliberate,
said.
yeah, exactly. So, but I think a lot of times we miss that, right? We focus on, oh, this, and if instead you stop and you take the wins and you're like, wait, hold on, a person made a decision. They wanted to connect with me. They wanted to give me this thing that can bolster our sense of ourself. The other thing is I like to use the saying, there's the common saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I like to use the saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Because if you can take this experimental mindset, which I think is exactly what you were recommending to this person, like that is like just a cheat code for being able to experience because you do learn from things, right? You text somebody and then you're like, they didn't respond. Okay, maybe all I texted them was just hi. So maybe next time I'll text and I'll try to ask a question, or I'll share a meme, or I'll do something different. Let me experiment. Let me see if I can find some things that, again, are still genuine for me. Don't feel like I'm pretending to be somebody else, but that might be more of an opportunity to connect with the other person. And I can gain some data from that. And again, instead, like one of the things that gets discouraging is like, oh, I failed. I guess I'll just give up. But
Right.
if you're like, no, I'm solving the puzzle, I'm uncovering the mystery, and each thing that I do, even if it doesn't win, it gets me closer to that winning. If you can reframe it that way, then that unlocks tremendous motivation. And it's not a trick of the mind. It legitimately is how it works, right? Like
It
every
is.
like again, anybody doing anything, Edison inventing the light bulb, he had to find a lot of ways to not invent the light bulb first. You want to make a friend, you got to find a lot of ways to not make a friend first.
I
And
found a
that's
lot of
just
ways
what it
not
takes.
to. What about
Yeah.
you? Yeah. Early on. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I
And
could tell some
yeah,
stories.
same, same. Thinking through the parts is it is really big to ask someone for their number. That's a big, brave thing to do. That's already a win. We were talking about that. Like, there's already a win there. You can only control what you do and how you
Mhm.
respond and feel good about how you show up. I love the idea of stepping back and looking at it differently. Their response doesn't equal what I am or my worth. And just getting that space can make all the difference.
Yeah. I think that's, if you don't take anything else away from the conversation, I think that's the most critical point, that like somebody else's response is not me. And I think that it's sometimes easier to grasp when we look at it from a different perspective, right? If you imagine somebody else having a 5-minute conversation with the person and the conversation doesn't go well or the other person doesn't like, is it valid to say that that they're a failure, that they're unlovable because of that 5-minute conversation? No, you would never apply that standard to somebody else. And so don't apply it to yourself. I think recognizing that the other person, all they're reacting to is that little tiniest glimpse. And again, if all I saw was one tiny clip of Steph Curry missing a free throw, and I decided that he was a bad basketball player, I would be dumb. Those tiny glimpses, those over the entire, like, we are vast, right? We contain multitudes as people. And so anybody that's going to make a judgment on you based on a tiny little sliver, that's foolish. And you should not let their judgment of you become your judgment of yourself.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for coming on again. And if you can tell my audience about your Substack and YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I've been putting out some free writing, some free YouTube videos just to kind of share more ideas with the world. So if you found what I talked about today helpful, then you'll probably like those things too. You can check out my YouTube by going to YouTube. My tag is social skills videos, or you can search for Dr. Daniel Wendler on YouTube. I should come up. My channel is Dr. Dan, neurodivergent psychologist. So that's fancy. And then my Substack is writing.danielwendler.com. Or if you just go to my website, danielwendler.com, there's links to everything. So if you don't want to chase down everything one at a time, just go to danielwendler.com and you can see everything that I'm up to.
I will definitely have that information in the show notes so they can come and find you.
Awesome.
Thanks again. And I hope you come on and visit us soon.
It was a pleasure. I'm excited to be back in the future.
Take care, Dan. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And if you're thinking, oh, I know somebody who would really appreciate this episode, please send it on to them. Also, don't forget, go down to that description below because I have loaded it with free resources and information on my parent workshops and continuing education trainings for therapists. Everything you need to keep learning and growing. Thank you for being here, for caring, and for choosing neurodiversity affirming approaches. I look forward to seeing you next time on Autism ADHD TV. Take care.
All content provided is protected under applicable copyright, patent, trademark, and other proprietary rights. All content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. No content is intended to be a substitute for professional medical or psychological diagnosis, advice, or treatment. Information provided does not create an agreement for service between Holly Blanc Moses Crossvine Clinical Group, the interviewee, Holly Blanc Moses LLC, and the recipient. Consult your physician regarding the applicability of any opinions or recommendations with respect to your symptoms or medical condition or the symptoms or medical condition of your family member. Children or adults who show signs of dangerous behavior toward themselves and/or others should be placed immediately under the care of a qualified professional.